Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to hike the Doane Valley and French Valley Loop Trail here in Palomar Mountain State Park, just about an hour east of San Diego, but a world away. We're at elevation, and this hike in particular goes along Doane Creek, which is very lush, has a lot of really big cedars and pines. It does not feel like you're anywhere near San Diego. Really beautiful hike. There's one point where we get to this historic weir site where they used to measure the water, but otherwise this is one of those hikes where it's just an experience. Like, the whole loop is just beautiful. It's not like a destination hike where you're going to a summit or something like that. This is a hike where just every inch of the hike is just beautiful and peaceful. Now, there are bugs, and I'll give you some tips on the website, HikingGuy.com. There's a full guide for that. The link to that is underneath the video on YouTube, so make sure you check that out for some tips on what to bring, how to prepare, where to park, and all of the logistical stuff for the hike. But otherwise, in this video, I'll show you what the hike is like. And if you like the video, as always, if you give me a thumbs up, I appreciate it. It helps me out a ton, helps other people find the video, and thank you for that. All right, guys, let's start on this beautiful hike.
All right, so the hike starts at the Doane Pond trailhead. Now, there's another one over there by the pond, and there's this one in the corner, which is the one that we're going to take for this hike. And you can see there's a little sign there telling us some mileages. We're heading towards the weir. The weir is our next stop. And once you start the trail, in a second or two, you're going to cross the road that we came in on, and then just continue the trail down here. Now, you can already see that it doesn't look like San Diego. I mean, we're not super high. We're about 4,600 feet, I'd say, in that ballpark, but already there's like huge cedars and pines, and there's actually an interpretive trail here, a little nature interpretive trail. I'll put a link to the document on the website so you can check out what all those things are too, but really lush, really green, really beautiful. Here you can see how beautiful it is, how big the trees are, the pines, the cedars. It feels like you are in Sequoia a little bit more than San Diego. But anyway, we're going to keep going straight, and after a little bit there is a turnoff for the weir trail, and it's right over here. It's going to be up these steps. When we finish the loop up, we're actually going to come back to this intersection, and we're going to come back, but you can see there's a sign there, and we're just going to head up the steps right here. And again, it's more of the same. We're basically following Doane Creek, which is down to the right over there. And even in this drought year, in the end of the summer, there was still some water in there. So pretty steady flow. And if you come here in the winter or the spring, it should be flowing pretty well. Here's a cool primitive little bench that I love. So simple, the design, but so nice. And then right after that bench, you're going to see the Baptist Trail, which joins in from the left over here. If you wanted to go up to the fire tower, you could go up there. I have a guide for that on the site as well. But anyway, we're going to keep going straight, and eventually you're going to start to get glimpses of the meadow off to the right there through the trees. That's Lower Doane Valley in there. And once you start to see that, you're going to notice the trees thin out. There was actually a huge fire here in 2007, and you can still see some evidence of that fire around, but you can see here the trees are much smaller because this area was burned in 2007. There's a nice view of the valley. It's named after a guy named Doane who lived up here. I have a history of him on the website if you want to check out the guide there. I talk about Doane and the whole area here and give you a little breakdown of what it was all about. Now, at this intersection, when we continue the loop, we're going to go straight, but to visit the actual weir and the gauging tower, we're going to go left on this little spur trail, this little trail called the Weir Trail. And you can see there's a sign for it. Overall, it's pretty well marked, this hike. Now, one of the cool things here, you can see it's kind of moist, is you can find banana slugs here. And this is the only place in Southern California where you can find them. I know people, you do see them here. People have seen them in this area where we are, where it's kind of moist. But outside of here, you find them north up in the Sierras and the Pacific Northwest. Now, here we are at the weir and the gauge house. They built this over 100 years ago to test the feasibility of whether they could make a hydroelectric dam there to power the electric railroads down along the coast. And once you check that out, we're going to go back to that intersection, and then we're going to come back down to the junction where we went up the weir trail, make the left, and then head through this meadow here. And you can see there's a sign marker. We're still actually on the lower Doane Trail at this point, but we're going to turn off of it here. When you get to this junction, kind of up where the trees start, we're going to make the left-hand turn. We're going to head up on the French Valley Trail, and French Valley is at the end of lower Doane. And this part of the hike is really beautiful. If you come here in the spring, it's all green and there's wildflowers, but even now when it's dry, it's still spectacular, this big meadow area here. And there are a lot of unofficial trails and trails on older maps. We're going to go straight here. Here you can see they've blocked it off in a very primitive way. But we're going to go straight up towards French Valley. All of this area is under habitat restoration, so please be respectful. Then right after that junction, you're going to notice a trail kind of coming in back from the right. We're going to go back down that when we finish at French Valley and come on back down here. Now you're going to go through the valley a little bit, through a gully, but you can see how beautiful it is. This was named after a couple of French settlers here who had a sheep farm, French Valley. And eventually the trail goes up, and you're going to want to look for this little side trail. Now you can go up there all the way to the border of the park where it joins Cleveland National Forest, and it kind of peters out. It's nice when there's water flowing. You can kind of go up and explore French Creek, which is here, but what we're going to do instead is go down on this little side trail and go to the rocks over here. You're going to make a left when you come here, and there's this little hidden watering hole. Now again, when the stream is flowing, this is all flowing here, and this is all fresh water. There's little waterfall cascades. It's pretty nice. But even when it isn't, there's a really deep pool here. And when I showed up, I actually saw, I don't know, half a dozen fish in there. I don't know what they were, if they were bass or perch or trout or something. But pretty cool and peaceful spot. Nice point to have as the midway point. All right, now we're going to come back. This is a split where we were before. This time we're going to go left, and we're going to go back down the other side of the loop on the other side of lower Doane Valley. And after a little while, the trail kind of winds away from the meadow, and we go back into the forest right on the edge of the meadow here. And you can see again, it's different but similar to the other side. Lots of old oaks, pines. It's really cedars on the side. It's really a beautiful spot as well. And one of the really incredible things on the side is this tree. Now, I don't know if this fell over or if this kind of fell over and was growing. It looks like it was growing on its side, but it is massive, and you get to hike under it, and it's like something out of the Lord of the Rings. So you're actually going to hike straight underneath this. You can check it out. Really, really cool. And then we're just going to keep going straight underneath that to continue on the trail. Eventually, we're going to kind of kiss the meadow again, and the lower Doane Trail comes in again. That was the one, if we went straight after the weir, we would have came out here, and you can see it's well marked. There's another post. And from here, we're going to keep going straight. And then we're going to look for this sharp right hand turn on this larger kind of trail. And now we're on the Doane Nature Trail once we come down here. And we're almost at the end. We're going to go back into the forest. There's a neat little bridge. There's some ups and downs here. But again, really heavy vegetation. Spectacular. Here's a little interpretive display for the nature trail. We have some ups and downs, and there's like a little stairway going down here. Trail's in pretty good condition. Out by French Valley, it's a little bit rough, but when you come down here, it's pretty nice. And there's some really huge cedar trees here. Here, somebody put some seats down there so that you could admire this massive cedar, incense cedar. Really cool. But then we're going to keep on going down, and eventually it's going to go downhill until we get back down to Doane Creek. And we're going to cross back over Doane Creek, and we're going to come back up to the weir trail. This is where we were before. We went up towards the weir, up those stairs. But instead now we're going to go straight, and we're going to head back up towards the parking lot and finish the hike. That's it. That's all she wrote.
Beautiful, beautiful hike. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, again, if you could leave me a thumbs up, I appreciate it. And if you stick around for a second or two, I'll show you what the hike looks like on a map so you can kind of get a lay of the land if you're going to come and do it. And otherwise, guys, I'll see you out in the trails. Bye.
All right, so here's the overview. And just so you know, we're doing this in a clockwise loop here. There's a couple little spurs that we go up. Now, the hike starts down at Doane Pond, and this is actually called Upper Doane Valley. And there's a camp here called Camp Palomar, but we're going to go this way. You can see we dive right down into this lush forest. There's not a lot to see here on the satellite view, but here we come along the side of Lower Doane Valley. We do that little turn off to the weir. We come back, we go up here, and then make the left turn onto French Valley. Here you can see we're going up through the meadows here. We do the meadows, and then we come into French Valley here and come to the hidden pool. Now this trail actually goes farther. It goes up here, but it kind of peters out. This is the border of Cleveland National Forest here, and it peters out at the forest. You can explore up there if you'd like, but unless there's water flowing, there's not a ton to see. But once we get to the hidden pool, we're going to turn around and we're going to go back. Here's that Y split again, and now we're hugging this side of the valley, of Lower Doane Valley. We come in, and then we do that sharp cutback right here. And this is where we went down. This is where those cedars were. We come back down and then rejoin where we turned off earlier, and then just head back to the parking lot.